This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. I'm Matt Fonslow, and the life of everyone on board depends on just one thing. Finding someone back there who can not only fly this plane, but who didn't have fish for dinner. That and more after a word from our sponsor, NAPA Autotech Training. So, are you looking for the right training provider that offers cutting-edge courses to hone your automotive skills? Well, let NAPA Autotech take you to the next level. Go to napaautotech.com for more details about classes near you. Well, we're starting to get to the end of March, and I don't know. I feel like it may be almost remiss to not at least wrap in a little bit or tie in March Madness. And if you're not familiar with that term, it has to do with the NCAA, or college, if you will, sports men's tournament, Division I. I guess the reason I bring it up is we might be able to learn a little bit of something from Duke University, and not so much this year, but a ways back. I'm talking about the shot. Well, some of you from probably the Illinois area are very confused, because in your mind, there might be two the shots, both of them taken by Michael Jordan, one against the Cleveland Cavaliers, right in Craig Elo's face, and the other one after pushing off Brian Russell of the Utah Jazz. Yeah, he pushed off. Come on, still a heck of a shot, but it's not the shot. Neither one of those is the shot. The shot I'm talking about is the one that we're going to see, or have been seeing, depending on when you're listening to this. And if you are, I guess, watching network television where they are playing collegiate basketball games, or I guess cable now too, or any of your streaming services, you're going to see this over and over and over and over, and rightfully so. In 1992, you had two real powerhouse programs that are fairly powerhouse still. At least one of them is Duke University and the Kentucky Wildcats. Really, Duke has a coach, Mike Krzyzewski, and his background is really the military. He served in the U.S. Army, and he went to West Point. He's had a lot of leadership training. And if you're just watching games, a lot of times you don't get to see that or see evidence of it. I mean, yes, they win, but come on, there's a lot of coaches who won or helped their teams win, coach teams that won lots and lots of games and championships, and they don't have a military background. They don't have a quote unquote leadership background. But in this case, Mike Krzyzewski does, or Coach K. His background being from the military and the West Point, leadership is very, very important to him. Proper leadership. And I guess, I don't know how much time to spend setting this all up, but you have the Duke Blue Devils, who 99% of the nation hates because they're viewed as being very well-to-do, blue bloods, successful. They weren't really all that successful until Krzyzewski starts coaching them. And even at that, I think his first 4 or 5 years, they were looking to fire him. But he builds a program. And you have a particular player, Christian Laettner, who sparks disdain in virtually anybody who watches him play. Not because he's really dirty, but he's labeled, right? Just a well-to-do white guy, good looking, plays basketball for this team. It's kind of snobbish, just has this air of snobbery about him because he just exudes confidence. You also have somebody who could have probably been one of the greatest to ever play the game. I guess, honestly, he is one of the greatest to ever play in the grand scheme of things, but I'm talking about somebody that would have been mentioned in the same breath as Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, if we want to keep going. Grant Hill, very much the gentleman, sophisticated, excellent player. And you have them going up against a Kentucky team that had just been rebuilding after some allegations, where they're paying players and whatever. And they have a coach, Rick Pitino, who has coached many squads to championships, to the deep into the playoffs or tournament, if you will. This game was hyped. I mean, hyped as going to be maybe the greatest game to ever be played. And I'm not really exaggerating. That was the level of hype coming. It was destined to not live up to expectations. Honestly, it didn't live up to expectations because it exceeded them. This was a back and forth game. And it came down to an overtime. So they're in overtime. And I think there's 6 seconds left. And a player, last name Woods, for Kentucky, hits a crazy one-hand floater off the backboard over Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner's, 6'10". I don't know if he's 6'11". He's trying not to foul, so he's not like super aggressive trying to block the shot, but he's still outstretched hands, jumping up. There ain't nothing to shoot over. Woods hits the shot. It does not look like it's going in. It goes in, banks it in. The crowd goes crazy. Both with celebration. Somebody's going to beat Duke. And also, oh my God, somebody's going to beat Duke. And this is where this leadership thing comes in. This is what I find really interesting. This is not what you're going to get just watching the game or clips of the game. This is where that behind the scenes stuff is just, God darn it. I don't know about worth its weight in gold, but there's so much to be taken away from that. So much. So you have 11 players. And if it matters, basketball teams typically have 12. I think they're limited to 12 players, active players. You have 11 players who think they just lost the game for Duke, that the game is over. There's 2.1 seconds left. One player is walking back to the bench for the timeout, and he's like, okay, coach is going to drop a terrific play and we're going to win. That player is Christian Laettner. Everybody else is positive the game's over. Coach K would tell you, in all honesty, he thought the game was over, that they had just lost. And they were really picked to win. I think they won the year before. They won the championship. And now they had brought back, I think, everybody. So they were kind of expected to win again, really feeling that pressure. And this is where I think the lessons start, in that they're under duress. They just had the wind sucked out of their sails. They were up with seconds left, and the other team hits a crazy shot. Now they're down 1 with a little over 2 seconds left, and they have to go the length of the floor. This isn't like the professional game where you call timeout and then you get to take the ball out at half court. They have to go the whole length of the court. So almost 94 feet. Probably, considering where they're going to try to get it to, 84 feet. The Duke players are walking back to the bench, and like I said, everybody's sure they've just lost except one. And Coach K very matter-of-factly says, all right, guys, we're going to win the game. For a lot of those players, it's almost like one of those record scratch moments, like, sorry, what? We're going to win. And then, instead of telling people what to do, I suppose there's some psychology going on here. And I don't know if he's doing this purposely, but when people are under a lot of stress, you have the fight, flight, freeze, fawn. It has to do a lot with where the blood flow is in your brain, like what happens. And to talk about going to like your reptilian brain. And sometimes when you're dealing with somebody that's clearly suffering from that, you say something absurd or off the wall or totally not fit for the moment. And I don't necessarily mean like lewd, just it doesn't fit. Just randomly blurting out pink flamingos will force the blood back to other parts of the brain. And I think by saying, first of all right, guys, we're going to win this game. Then instead of like taking the leadership role and controlling, taking the helm, taking the reins, he turns to Grant Hill, maybe the best athlete on the team. I don't think maybe. He is absolutely the best athlete in that building, probably, but at least on that court, for sure. Grant, do you think you can make a full court length pass? And Grant's now forced to answer, like think about it and go, yeah, I can do that, coach. Christian Leitner, can you make the shot? And Christian, interestingly enough, responds, if Grant makes a good pass, I'll catch it. That's what he guarantees. That's an interesting move. But notice Coach K isn't telling people what to do. He's not drawing this up saying, all right, Grant, you're going to throw the ball here. Christian, you're going to catch it here. He's asking them, do you think you could do this? Do you think you can do that? Forcing them to think, forcing them to maybe forget about the actual situation and just break it down to this one thing. Can I do this one job? Can I do this? And then Christian Leitner unwittingly taking pressure off of himself. This is somebody that's really at no loss of confidence. Interestingly enough, somebody described him, and I kind of like this, is Christian won't choke. He may miss the shot, but he won't choke. That's an interesting thought, right? Because I think with 2.1 seconds left, if he shoots the shot and misses it, somebody might say he choked. Not stepping up and getting off a good shot, that would be choking. Missing a shot, I mean, most people are athletes at that level. They're shooting in that 40 to 50% range. Unless we're going out into 3-point land, past the arc there, and then it drops high 30s, low 40s. But they draw up the play where Christian's going to catch this near the key, we'd say kind of a little past the free throw line towards the 3-point or towards center courts, but he's close to the free throw line. And he's a pretty good target, 6'10". And interestingly enough, Kentucky, Rick Pitino's, it's a logical instruction. Don't foul. Don't stop the clock. Because think about this for a little bit. And I know this is basketball strategy. I'm sorry. Automotive podcast talking about basketball strategy. But the reality is Kentucky has a lot of defenders. And I don't mean just the 5 players on the floor. They also have all of the out of bounds lines and the clock. The clock is a major, major defender in this. It's going to create tension and make people move faster than they want to move, right? Panic. NAPA Autotech training sessions are being conducted day and night in a town near you. This training caters to every level within your organization, be it a mechanical assistant, a mechanical specialist, a technology specialist, or a driver safety calibration specialist. Imagine a one-stop shop training partner in NAPA Autotech that will lead your team to a path to greatness. Autotech's entry-level Build-A-Tech classes convert the untapped potential of your new hires into money-making mechanical specialists. Autotech's higher-level tech update classes introduce specialists to the world of ever-changing technologies, which prevents your shop from getting technologically stagnant. Remember, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And, turning to the front of the store, the Autotech Service Advisor class is an awesome way to hone your client advocate skill set, ultimately benefiting the customer through an improved vehicle repair experience. But it doesn't stop there. Imagine an electric vehicle class that takes your specialist well past the mundane, yet necessary safety topics. Well, it's here. Autotech's EV Ready training is a week-long curriculum that takes participants through a hands-on experience involving hybrids and electric vehicles. The session kicks off with the use of PPE and proper tooling while touching on required OSHA regulations. Then, the students dive into the lab vehicles to gain knowledge of the common high-voltage components on EV and hybrid vehicles and their function. Attendees will be taken on a path exposing them to different electric vehicle manufacturers to compare component form and location. Additionally, information about Level 1 and Level 2 charging systems will be included, along with a quick look at DC to DC charging. The operation and maintenance of subsystems are explored, including the different modes of Tesla operations, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Commit to taking your business to the next level with NAPA Autotech training. So, the play is drawn up. Grant is going to throw this about the length of the floor. Christian's going to catch it and try to get off a good shot. Kentucky is going to try not to foul. And that's really, really important. I think nowadays it's played differently because of this. People have learned from this. All right, they get the ball. timer starts, if you will, where the official is going to give them about 5 seconds to throw that ball from out of bounds. Grant wings it to about the free throw line, so roughly 84 feet, and really probably even closer to 80 feet. And Christian catches it with 2 people on him. He has 2 seconds, and he has the presence, the tempo or internal timer to actually take a dribble. Maybe unwittingly, is genius because it lets him get his feet under him, and it allows, really, it kind of throws the defense off, right? Because it kind of gives him a little bit of a move and then turns around, and the ball leaves his fingers, I think, at about 0.2 seconds, and he hits it. So, yeah, thanks for listening. I think it's worth delving into, though, how the coach handled that and how does that translate to the shop. And I think the coach or / the leaders have to have a certain confidence about their people, about the business, about the shop. And I'm not talking about delusional. Like, there's nothing delusional with Coach K saying, we're going to win this game. Because another little tidbit, up to that point, Christian Laettner was 19 for 19, meaning he had hit 9 jump shots, or shots, some of them dunks, layups. I don't know if he had a 3-pointer, to be quite honest, but he had hit 9 field goals and he had hit 10 free throws. He did not miss. He was 19 for 19. Sorry, Bulls fans. He hit the real shot, the shot, to become 20 for 20, or at least 10 for 10 on field goals. It was not unreasonable. It was not crazy talk to say, we're going to win this game. And putting everybody at ease with that confidence. And then not directing people what to do, but asking them kind of, do you think you could do this? Maybe even, what do you think about this? Something of that nature. And depending on the situation, of course, some people are going to want to be told what to do. But long term, that's not necessarily good. Long term, we're trying to have really autonomy, right? We want autonomous beings working for our businesses, making decisions that, for the most part, we feel we would have made or wanted them to make, and be willing to deal with the consequences of them making the decision with the best of intentions, but maybe you don't agree with it. And then you can take them aside. Like, I appreciate that you made this decision. I'm glad you did. But let me tell you what I'm thinking and why. And maybe they respond back with what they were thinking, and you come to an understanding. And the next time they make one more in line with what you would want, or you find out they were right. Yeah, which happens a lot. I like the idea of believing in the business, believing in your people, believing in the system you've built and worked on, and the people operating in it, having a little bit of that confidence, or a lot of bit of that confidence. And again, not being, outlandish with it or absurdist, just a quiet confidence, matter of fact, and realistic. Your people feed off of that. We can handle these situations. We had a slow week. We're going to be all right. This is why. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Do you think you could do this? As you're training your people to take on more and grow them as a technician, grow them as a service advisor, whatever position. Hey, what do you think of this? Do you think you could do that? You'd be willing to do that? You want to take a crack at that? It takes a different tone. It doesn't, if there's a fear that since you're not directing people what to do, that they will not view you with the same, I don't know if authority is quite the right word, maybe, but you're just not as strong of a presence, and that ends up not being it at all, right? That we've seen those little cartoons where real leadership, you have the one leader standing on the wagon, barking orders or whipping people to pull. And then you have the other cartoon next to it where the leader's down there pulling with everybody else. And that's kind of it, right? That's leadership a lot of times, is creating a environment where people want to do stuff for you. You know what I mean? It's just, they darn near punch out and go and help out. And that's what you're cultivating. And that's what you could be picking up from how Coach Mike Krzyzewski led team after team deep into the tournaments, won championships, not because he was always barking orders, but putting people in a position to feel a part of something, a part of a moment, even part of the system, a part of the moment, and a contributor to it. So yeah, hopefully, if you're a basketball fan or not, and I got to level with you, I haven't really watched too many games. I'll watch the highlights, and I think Duke's in a pretty good position to win this year with Cooper Flagg and company. Maybe you go back and look at some of those highlights and then just type in Coach K and the shot and listen to him, listen to his perspective. And then especially the more modern takes on it when they're interviewing late during Hill and some of the other players, not just that, but coaches and commentators and all that, that a little bit of that behind the scenes is just, I've said it before, man. I like watching magic tricks and all that, but to me, learning the secret, how they did it, doesn't take away from it at all. It makes it better. How did you do that? And it's the same thing. How did you succeed? What did you do to contribute to your success or the success at this moment? Let me pull back the curtain. I love that stuff. I just love that stuff. So hopefully you got a kick out of this. Hopefully you enjoyed it and see where I'm going with it. Yeah, I'm getting quite a few emails about technical stuff, about really commenting about the more technical episodes. And seriously, if you like that stuff, please reach out. Give me ideas. I would like some ideas of what you would like talked about. Yeah, coming up with the subject matter sometimes. I don't know what you guys are really after, what you're thirsty for, and then can I offer something to help quench that? Or, as most things, show you the whole bunch of doors to go through. I want to know more about this. And then you walk through that door and find out there's just way more. Anyways, yeah, please fire me an email, mattfonslowpodcast@gmail.com. And before I cut out of here, I'd like to thank our sponsor, NAPA Autotech Training, and thank the Aftermarket Radio Network, and urge you guys to check out some of these other podcasts offered by the Aftermarket Radio Network. There's this dude, he does a podcast for the network, and it's called Speak Up, and it's about communication. And not like Lynn or Can or anything cool like that. It's about actually communicating. And I gotta admit, it's really good. He's good. Definitely check that out. And if you haven't been listening to any of Hunt Demarest's Business by the Numbers, you don't need to be the business owner or manager to listen to some of those episodes, if not all of them. Hunt does a really, really good job of explaining stuff that just from a text point of view helps understand a lot of the, I guess, how the sausage is made. It really does. It really helps out. And you find that, no pun intended, but you become a better communicator. So yeah, Craig, if you're listening, just make a lot of references to Hunt. It takes care of itself. And then we also have the Weekly Blitz with Chris Cotton and Auto Repair Marketing Podcast with Brian and Kim Walker. You'll never guess what that one's about, but Chris Cotton's is also to do with really marketing and shop management. It's some really good stuff. Both of them, all of them are really good. So when you're finding you may not have any more podcasts to listen to, or you're wondering what to listen to next, drop in on one of theirs and see what you think. That's it. That's what I got. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Matt Fonslow, diagnosing the aftermarket A to Z on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Matt on your favorite listening app. He's very interested in what you have to say. Let him know what you'd like him to cover and come on the show. Matt is all for advancing the aftermarket. Find Matt Fonslow on social media and connect or on aftermarketradionetwork.com.